Welcome to your real estate podcast. This is episode number 6, and we got a good show for y'all today. As we wrap up 2023, we got a lot to review. The year in review, in essence. Get ready for the new year. So we're going to discuss some best practices for agents going into the new year. We're also going to discuss buying homes going into the new year, 2024, the forecast, selling the house. All right. And we're going to take a look at some stats. So without further ado, let's get started, right? Buying a home in 2024. First of all, let's look at the interest rates and see what that has. Yesterday when I checked the interest rates, it were something around 6.41, I believe, for the 30-year FHA. Was putting together a 6.41 exactly. 30-year FHA is at a 6.41. 10-year ARM is 7.58. We have 10-year fixed at a 6.81 right now. So the interest rates are kind of toning down a little bit compared to where they were, almost going to 8s. They're in the mid 7s right now. A 30-year fixed jumbo rate is at a 7.53, but the regular 30-year fixed rate is at a 7.48 with a 7.5 APR, right? 20-year fixed is at a 7.20. So in essence, so what that means for home buyers is it's still high compared to the recent past, right? But all in all, this was kind of like the norm, or pretty decent rates if you think about the history. Going back 60, 70 years, then a 7.8% interest rate is actually good. But if you think about the near past, the last 6, 7 years, then this is high because you used to get 4%, 3% interest rate. So if you're waiting for those days, then you can go ahead and do so. But what I always advise clients is go ahead and make the move, purchase the house. If you get it at a 6.41 for your first home, or if you already want to do a conventional loan and get it for 7.5, let's say the interest rates were to drop, then you just refinance, right? But if you want to wait, imagine those who saw the interest rates at 4% and said, oh, I'll wait till it goes back down to 2, then it just kept going up and going up and going up. So unless it is really expensive or really high to where you're not going to be able to make payments on the loan, that's the only time I would say don't make a move. But if it's somewhat reasonable, I advise you to go ahead and make a move, and you can always refinance, right? But in 2022, buying a house at this rate, I don't want to say it's fully a buyer's market, but what I can point out to is houses are not selling as fast. I see a lot more expired listings than earlier during the year or even late last year, right? So a lot more homes are staying on the market longer and not selling as fast. So you can kind of play the waiting game a little bit, see if the seller decides to do some price reductions, or you don't want to lowball people, but you can bring a lower offer to the table, or seller concessions as a requirement, seller financing, things of that nature. You just have a lot more to play with when the market is shaped the way it is right now. As a buyer, I would say it's sort of a buyer's market. It's kind of tricky because the housing market hasn't crashed, right? So sellers haven't seen a crazy depreciation on their property value. For the most part, the values of homes are still rising due to the fact that there are not that many homes on the market, right? The interest rates are causing people to say, okay, I don't want to sell this house and go look for something I can't afford, so I might as well just lock in my low mortgage rate. So a lot of people are okay staying put. Therefore, there are fewer listings. That makes when you think about the supply and demand, lower supply, high demand, the price goes up. So now the supply is low, but the demand is also kind of low. So there's somewhat of an even playing field, right? And I say buyers can negotiate, and you have more leverage now than you did a few years ago, just to say the least. I wouldn't say completely it's a buyer's market due to the fact that most buyers are not being qualified. So buyers are few and far between, but sellers at the same point are not trying to let go of what they used to see, the high numbers they used to see a year ago. But buyers got a little bit more leverage is what I'm saying. So if you're going into 2024 looking to purchase a home, I say go for it. Start building your equity, right? The sooner the better. All right, we're going to talk about selling your house in 2024, right? We just went over the interest rates and everything, and we see where we are. Interest rates are still going up. And as I mentioned, more and more houses are staying on the MLS longer. To be quite frank, there are a lot more expired listings this time versus same time last year. Just looking at the MLS almost on a daily basis, I see a ton of listings expiring and not selling. However, it's not all gloom and doom for sellers because houses are selling. A lot of houses are selling, right? Like for instance, when I look at a listing and monitor it for a month or two, you would see maybe 10 or so houses in that area sell, 1 or 2 still are on the market. It might be price, it might be a few things. So if people really want it, they go and get it. That's all I can say. So houses are selling. It's not the end of the day for sellers, but what I would say is price it correctly. Gone are the days of where you list a property and you get 10, 20 potential buyers all fighting over your house and you start a bidding war. At least it's not that right now. Things have kind of changed a little bit, so you need to make sure you price the house correctly so it's competitive. Don't be greedy for gain. If you're trying to get too much money out of it, you may not sell. And the longer your house stays on the market, the more eyebrows it raises to where people are like, why is that house not selling? I don't want to touch it. What's wrong with it? Right? So keep that in mind. Don't try to get too much money and then you find yourself not being able to sell your house. Okay? Use I would say repairs, right? But what I wanted to touch on is use licensed contractors for repairs. So over time, you deep clean your house. Let's say you want to sell in the spring or the summer of next year. Start right now, or you should have started already, but normally people got spring cleaning. You know, I get it, it's the holiday season, you got your family coming through, a lot of foot traffic at times. But right in the spring, you want to do some deep cleaning, right? Or right after the holidays, I would say if you're planning on selling, start decluttering the house, do some deep cleaning. Think about painting certain areas, keep the colors really blend. But if you see some areas require maintenance, go ahead and hire a licensed contractor. Because now buyers a lot of buyers are including a property inspection addendum in a purchase offer, meaning they're going to send an inspector out there. They want to see what the property holds regarding hidden secrets, right, or damages or repairs, and they just use those pointers as ways to deleverage the seller, right? Or to gain leverage and say, oh, something is wrong with your HVAC. You need to take $5,000 off. Something is wrong with the tile in the bathroom. Take a couple $100 off or do the repairs. Quite frankly, buyers are not willing to get fixer-uppers anymore. That works more so for contractors or investors. But for the regular homeowner, they just want something that's move-in ready. Every once in a while, you might have somebody who is okay with doing a project, but for the most part, people don't want anything that they have to repair. Right now, the cost of repairs is just too high. Interest rates are super high. So if somebody qualifies for a property, they're just trying to move in and not have to worry about fixing it up. So make sure you do the necessary repairs and get a licensed contractor. It matters a lot when it's time to sell and people want to see proof of repairs and is it going to be up to code, you know. So make sure everything is filed with the county where you live in. Make sure these things are on the county record as far as the inspections were passed and everything was built according to code. All right, it just helps you a lot in a market like this. Obviously the curb appeal make it aesthetically attractive, right? They say looks are deceiving, but people do judge a book by its cover. That's a huge purchase. So what they see up front can really make or break the sale, right? All right. I wouldn't say it's a seller's market anymore. more houses are selling, but a lot more houses are staying longer on the market, longer than usual in certain markets, certain areas, right? Certain areas are still hot, but certain areas are not so hot anymore. So be very mindful of that. And finally, I would say plan accordingly, right? So are you going to pick up a second mortgage? Are you willing to rent the property out for a little bit of time? Are you okay with paying a mortgage for a while you are living somewhere else? So the ease of listing the property, it's gone in 30 days. Those days are long gone. It's not the same anymore. So keep in mind that, I just spoke with a lady. She bought a house in, I think it's Carroll County, and she's trying to get rid of this house she has in Prince George's County, right? Now she's paying 2 mortgages. So that is the story. I know another seller that's going through something similar. They moved out of state and they have a property that's been on the market for a while. So it's a story now where people are stuck with properties. So be mindful of that. Keep in mind or keep a contingency plan to rent it out or to wait longer than usual, pay a few more months of mortgage than you would have in the past. Okay, so I hope that helps. All right, we're going to talk about real estate agents, how to be successful in 2024. I would say, looking back at some things I would have done differently, is memorize the scripts, right? And we're talking about agents who are going after the listing business. Some people are okay with doing a buyer, being a buyer's agent. No knock on that. Actually, it works tremendously. I've had some success with clients, people I knew, actually putting in an offer right now with somebody I know as a buyer, right? So it works, and it's actually easier technically. The only hard part is I would say showing a bunch of properties, the long drives, then also the long hours of drafting a contract. But it's almost guaranteed. If you have a motivated buyer with good credit, and high income, all you got to do is find the right property for them and you'll be fine, right? Give them the proper advice and file it and so on. As far as filing the offer sheet, and just be in their best interest, negotiate, and you're fine. So I wouldn't say that is something negative, but what I'm speaking to are the listing agents, right? Which is a great opportunity to scale your business, a great opportunity to control your time. As a buyer's agent, you're constantly dealing with people's schedules, showing houses multiple times. As a listing agent, you can control your time a little bit more. And most people get into real estate. Some people do for the money, but some people get into it to get a better schedule, right? And I would say being a listing agent may be the way to go. But the way to be successful is you have to memorize your script, because when you do prospect or you speak to clients who are trying to sell their homes, it just helps when you know what you're saying and you just come across more fluent and knowledgeable, right? You don't come across as though you're like reading or unprepared. So memorize your scripts. I think that is something, if I would go back to, and also when you memorize the scripts as you speak, you don't have to think when you talk to somebody, you just know the next thing to say and the next thing to say. So I would say focus on your script, do the work, be consistent. Consistency is something that most real estate agents cannot maintain. I've been guilty of that myself at times. Life happens, problems come up, but just think about this, right? Think about the big Fortune 500 companies. With all the life that happens, with all the problems that come up, if you want to go to, let's say, a Macy's, it's going to be open, right? If you want to go into any store, let's say a Lowe's, a Home Depot, a Walmart, they're going to be open regardless of what problems may be going on in whoever's life that works for that company. So you got to see yourself as that. Regardless regardless of what, I need to be able to show up and do my job. This is a business. So we become agents to get the free time, but now you got the free time and you don't have a boss writing you up for coming into work late or not showing up to work. Are you just going to show up when nobody's looking, nobody's breathing down your neck? So consistency, just show up and do the work. All right. Finally, what I'll say, the biggest tip I'll give to agents is it's going to be hard. It's going to be slow, but offer great service, right? The industry, as we know with the lawsuits, is marred with just unethical people. I wouldn't say unethical people, but people that don't care. I see it sometimes. You deal with agents and it's like they just out to get a check rather than out to serve people, right? Obviously, it's a job. You do it so you can get compensated. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but there's something about offering great service. One, you get satisfied, but the biggest part about it is it scales your business. The best referral you can get is word of mouth. When somebody raves about you, it's easy on that next transaction. You don't have to convince this person, So it's going to take a while and it's going to be slower to grow, but inevitably, that's the best way to scale your business, just by great service. When you start getting referrals, you can turn one listing into 3 just by the neighbors seeing how much you put in work and you give it your all, because they see other houses and other agents, and then they'll see the work you do and they say, okay, this person, even if the house sells or not, they'll just keep it in the back of their mind. When it's time to sell my home, I'm going to call this agent, so you can turn one listing into 2, 3, 4 and so on, and also one buyer into 4 buyers, because you sell this house and that person, they get an open house. They'll rave about the service you provided them, the deal you gave them, how you negotiated the price down for them, how you gave them good tips on where to purchase, why not to purchase this house. You were patient with them even if they wanted to see 40 properties, you showed them all 40. It's really time consuming, but just offer great service. And that in turn comes back tremendously, exponentially, because they will always refer you. But let's say it's their first house. When it's time to sell and upgrade to a second house, they're going to call you. I know somebody personally that, somebody I have known for over 10 years. I'm an agent, but when they sell their house, I cannot get that transaction. And I asked him, I said, come on, man, why didn't you give me this transaction? He said, to be honest with you, man, years ago, prior to me knowing you, when I bought my first house, this agent did my transaction. They've kept up with me and my wife over the years. And, we just have that relationship. In the future, if things don't work out, I'll definitely come to you, but I just can't, let her go. She always reaches out, check on the kids, holidays, birthdays, so on and so forth. For years, we just have a bond, and she offered great service. And this is somebody I know, I wouldn't say I know him well, but I've known him for a long period of time. We don't hang out outside of a work environment, but you just say, wow, I've known you for a long time, but you always give this agent your business, and you can just see how far that goes, and that is what I'm talking about. And the same it applies to me. I've gotten business and people know other agents, but they rather work with me. I just gave that example because it goes a long way when you offer great service. All right. So happy 2024. I hope you're successful. We're going to delve a little deeper as we go through the podcast. So stay tuned. All right. So let's look at the latest housing indicators. All right. Things haven't really changed since the last time we spoke, but we'll just review it one more time. It's saying 3.7 million units were sold, and the median price nationally is at $391,800. And that shows that the housing market hasn't crashed yet completely or at all. The prices of homes are still going up, but the problem is they're not selling quite as fast. All right, not selling quite as fast, but they haven't crashed all the way yet. And when we take a look at the pending sales, let's just look at the Northeast where we are. Month over month, North, it's up by 2.7% as far as the price, right? I mean, the pending home sales. And in the South, the month over month is actually down 85.6. It's down by 1.9%. So the Northeast is the hottest market in the country right now, and that's where we are. Well, technically, we're right on the borderline, so we're actually in the southern market if they look at it that way. Maryland is actually the first state that they deem to be south, and that's down 1.9%. The Northeast, you're talking about New York and all those in the corner, right? Boston, Massachusetts, all of those states up there, New England, and they're up 2.7. So the Northeast is the hottest market. The Midwest is down. The West is actually performing the worst right now. There was a time when the West was a very hot market, but now for some reason a lot of people are moving out of California. It's down 6%. Pending home sales are 51.8, down 6% month over month. Arizona was a hot market. A lot of people moving to Arizona, California, but now the West is not doing quite as great. We'll see. Keep an eye on that and see if that lasts or if that's just a passing thing, right? Existing home sales month over month are down 4.1%. Year over year, down 14.6%. That's pretty huge. The median sales price year over year is up, as I mentioned, to $391,800, and that's up 3.4%. So I would say the market, as I mentioned, the market hasn't crashed yet. We saw in the last month 3.79 million homes were sold nationally. So houses are still selling. We got 3.6 months worth of inventory. So let's say no more houses go on the market. What's on the market now will last for 3.6 months. This time last year we had 3.3 months. So as I'm saying, more and more houses are staying on the market, due to just prices, interest rates, and things of that nature. All right, so let's take a look at Maryland. Maryland's median price is a tad bit over the national, which is 391,000, I believe. In Maryland, we're looking at 399,000. That's up from 380,000 last year. Average price is at 465,000, which is up from 444,000 last year. That's $21,000 increase almost, right? That's up 4.7% as far as the average price. So the price hasn't been affected. It's the same recurring theme, right? However, the number of units sold is down tremendously, 14.5%. That is substantial, right? Only 5,000 or so homes sold last month compared to same time last year when 6,000 plus homes sold. So what that means for buyers is, as I mentioned, you can negotiate, you can talk and see if you'll get a better offer, better deal. But for sellers, put your best foot forward, right? Remember the time, once upon a time, you got these bidding wars going on where the buyer was required to put their best foot forward. Now the tables have turned, right? So the seller need to put their best foot forward, because people will go to the house next door and go buy the other house in your neighborhood rather than yours. So just put your best foot forward and your house will sell. All right. So now we're going to take a look at Brandywine. Brandywine is where my office is located. I would say I'm more familiar with other areas in the state of Maryland, but I decided to list in Brandywine because it's closer to home. Just be 100% honest. So let's look at Brandywine and see what's going on over here. I'll read this from Redfin, okay? It says Brandywine, Maryland housing market. Let's go. The Brandywine housing market is very competitive. Homes in Brandywine receive one offer on average and sell in around 26 days, so about a month on average. The median sale price of homes in Brandywine was $550,000 last month. That's substantially high. It's even higher than Maryland's average, right? Down 9.91 since last year. The median sales price per square foot in Brandywine is $258, which is up 9.1% since last year. So the sales price has dropped, but the price per square footage is up. What does that mean? I would say it's the same story, just told differently, right? Higher end homes are not selling quite as much, is what that means. It doesn't mean that the price of your home has dropped. Actually, the price of the homes have gone up, but higher priced homes are not selling as much as they were last year, and that just boils down to interest rate being what they are. People may not be able to qualify for homes that are super expensive. All right, so those are the trends in Brandywine. It says number of people moving to Brandywine, and it shows a lot some coming from California, a bunch coming from New York. It said more than 469 people are searching Brandywine from Detroit. Then you got 60 people searching in Chicago, 10 people searching for Brandywine in Davenport, 7 people searching in Lincoln, Nebraska, 9 searching in Columbia, so on and so forth. About over 3,700 people are searching Brandywine in New York. So New York is getting the most traffic as far as people interested in moving into Brandywine. All right, well, I hope that helped. And if you're in the area locally and you want to sell a home or you want to move to Brandywine, Maryland, reach out to me. We'll be able to help you out, okay? So let's talk about 2024. So let's talk about 2024, mostly for my real estate agents, but just going into the year, right? Let's just look into what we plan on doing next year, right? Not necessarily only for agents, but just how to be more productive. You know, this is the time of year when people start thinking about diet plans, career goals, relationship goals. You know, they're looking at the previous year and saying, I could have done things better. And now they're planning ahead and hoping to do things better moving forward, right? I would say just a few tips to have a more productive 2024. Just stop saying what you're going to do and do it, right? The Nike slogan, just do it. You know, talk is cheap. Action, action. We hear all these cliches, but they really mean a lot. Actions speak louder than words. Stop saying it, stop planning it, stop talking about it. I don't know who said this, but it was so powerful when I heard it. And I was joking about this with my niece after Thanksgiving, dropping her back off at college. And she had told me some plans of things she wanted to do. So I was like, just following up on her. How is that going? Oh, I haven't had time to do it yet. I was so busy with school and trying to get a job when I got to campus, you know, and I understand, you know, but I don't understand. So I had to say, you know, you were talking about this goal and it's a goal you had plans to achieve, right? So I mentioned this quote that I heard, and I don't know, I would like to give credit to who I heard it from, but I don't know. If you know who said it, please write it down in the comment section below. But he said, talking about the thing is not doing the thing, right? Texting people about the thing is not doing the thing. Planning on how you're going to do the thing is not doing the thing. Posting on social media about how you're going to do the thing is not doing the thing. Writing about how you're going to do the thing is not doing the thing. Thinking about doing the thing is not doing the thing. Doing it, only doing it matters at the end of the day. And that's what separates winners from losers. Just doing it is what matters. So I had to pull a card like, hey, you said you were going to do it, do it. No excuses, right? Life doesn't stop. You know, you had a goal, you actually invested in the goal, you wanted this and that to get it all set up, and now you're not doing it, and then the year is almost over, right? So only doing counts. Talking is useless, quite frankly. And I would say going into 2024, cut off dead weight. Dead weight, what's dead weight? You're talking about some friends, you know? My dad always used to tell me, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Birds of the same feather flock together. You lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas. These were all his sayings, right? And I just think about it. Even when somebody calls me, I'm on the phone, I'm just thinking about the conversation and I'm like, I gotta get off this call, Or I'm in the middle of work. I think it was, I don't want to be wrong, either Earl Nightingale or Dale Carnegie, one of their books where I read or heard him say, cut off the short talk, especially at work. You're trying to be productive. People want to do small talk. This is what they said. They said, nobody is going to hate you for telling them, excuse me, but I got to get back to work. You don't have to be rude when you say these things, but just be polite, but firm. Excuse me, I need to get back to work. So many people always got small talk, especially now. There's football going on, there's basketball going on, there's the economy going on, there's the war in Israel going on, there's so much going on. People always want to stop you and chit chat, the water cooler talk, It's always good. You need to have what we call an elevator speech. You meet an executive in the elevator and you just have a few words to say. It's always good to have a few things to say. You don't want to be standoffish. You don't want to come across as such. But at the same time, some people always go on and go on and go on. And sometimes you notice you're trying to walk away, they're following you, just talking. You like, dude, I got to get back to work, So cut off dead weight. That could be friends, social media. Social media is big that way for almost everybody, myself included, and it's something I've tried my best to work on and I'm working on. Everybody has what works for them. Some is Twitter, some is YouTube, some it's Facebook, some it's Instagram, some is Snapchat. There's so many of them now, right? Well, X, no longer Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, and then more popping up every day. Bigo, you just see every day there's a new app, right? Stop scrolling. Scrolling isn't doing the work, right? Oh yeah, they said researching about doing the work is not doing the work. Only doing the work is doing the work. So just cut off dead weight, cut up friends that want to talk a lot. As I said, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. If your friends are not going anywhere, what makes you think you're going to go somewhere? You can't go. It says two cannot walk together unless being in agreement, right? So we can't be going in the same direction if you're slacking and hanging out and I'm trying to work. Just naturally, the natural order of things will push us further and further apart. You hear it all the time. Best friends become strangers. Nothing wrong with that. You don't hate this person. You're just going in a different place. You can always come back and check in with them later, but set aside this time to just get to where you're trying to go, right? Stop doing busy work and unnecessary meetings. There's a meeting for this. Meetings is not doing the work. All this planning on how we're going to do the work ain't doing the work. Don't get it wrong. I read a book called The Monday Morning Leadership. One of my managers gave me that book when I was first getting into management. They were trying to help me out as far as being a mentor. And it is said, I don't know how true it is, but 20 minutes of planning saves an hour of working, right? So in order to be efficient, you have to plan. But stop doing busy and unnecessary work, all these unnecessary meetings, and you just listen in the meetings and they're talking about so many things that are really not productive. How are we going to get productive and make things happen? A regional manager did a visit a few years back and said to us, chase the big rock, chase the big rocks. In real estate, we call them revenue generating activities. When you wake up and there's so many apps, so many books on being productive, so many strategies on prioritizing, but one simple way to just do it is just write down your things to do. You got your long-term list, your midterm, and then your short-term list, and when you wake up, you just write down what you plan on doing today, and it should correlate with your midterm or short-term goals, so on and so forth. Once you write them down, just circle the key things that are really going to move the needle. Not everything is going to move the needle. Not everything is going to generate revenue or get you where you need to go. So only focus on those. Chase the big rocks. Some people that know me know this about me, right? I got a short fuse for those attention to detail people. Not to say that's not necessary, but sometimes moving count. Getting things done counts. And here you are stuck in making sure it's like you got OCD or something. You're trying to make sure this thing is lined up so perfectly, and I've gotten 10 done already. Like, come on, just, it's key to be detailed. I get it. But in certain areas, keep going, keep moving. That matters, right? Rather than being stuck here, having analysis paralysis, and you're stuck trying to review and plan and strategize and this, dude, let's just get to it, So at some point, you got to get to it. Nothing wrong with being detailed. Honestly, I got books on books right here, just lined up with breaking down things I'm going to do. So I definitely plan. I get that, right? I don't want to get far off course, but it's all, let me see, all grid, I draw the grids and I check them off. This is something I do, tracking different activities, on multiple books, right? As far as, that's just, those that know me know that about me. So I plan. I'm not saying don't plan, but at some point we got to get going, And I just hate, I don't want to say hate, but I always try to tell people you're not being productive by just thinking and talking and planning and strategizing and researching. Let's make the move. And you want to track your numbers. The saying goes, what gets measured gets accomplished. However, beware of analysis paralysis, constantly checking your numbers, and you're stuck there, and then you find out your entire day is gone and you didn't get anything done, but now you know why you're not getting anything done. That isn't getting it done, What I suggest is periodically check your numbers. Set away time for that, maybe once a month or quarterly, right? This gives you enough time to actually gather data, and then you can go and adjust accordingly. You review and adjust accordingly. Sometimes you may need to go back to the drawing board and scrap that whole plan. It doesn't matter, but give yourself some time to gather enough information and then analyze accordingly, right? They say don't count the days, make the days count. We all know that person who always were gonna start something. Always. They tell you, oh, by this time next year I'll do this, and this time next year comes and you're like, what's going on with that? Oh no, this came up and that came up, but they never get to what they say they're gonna do, right? Don't count the days, make the days count. Today, like I said, just get to it. That's the theme. Get to it. Make the days count. There's so many sayings about that, right? Rome was not built in a day. So while you thinking about this grandiose plan and everything, it's not gonna happen if you don't move the needle. So get going. Stop talking about it. That's the key, right? You have to set away time to review and plan and organize, but we spent too much time on that and not enough time on making things happen. Like I said, the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day. To build a mansion, you gotta lay the first brick. To run a marathon, you gotta take the first step. And there was a poem we used to recite when we were kids, right? Little drops of water, little grains of sand, make a mighty ocean and a glorious land. Slowly and slowly, you just keep chopping wood, right? Keep stacking days, slowly and slowly. And when you look back, you'll see the progress. That's all I have to say about 2024, going into the new year. Stop talking about it. Just, the year is long, but it's very short. When we're at the end of 2023, you just think to yourself, man, this year just started and it's already over. But through the course of the year, it's a long time. So I know you got all this zeal. I'm glad this came to mind. Don't be too high or too low. When you get too high, you get caught up in the euphoria. You're celebrating too much. That can be a distraction. Even when you get a win. Like Barry Sanders, when he used to run into the end zone, he didn't celebrate too much. It's like you've been there before. You need to have that kind of mindset. It helps you. So it's like a dopamine hit, right? When you get that, what goes up must come down, like an adrenaline junkie. You get the adrenaline rush and you come crashing. You don't want to be like that. Being even keel is better. Also, don't get too down. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're going to have plans and it's not always going to succeed. But when you start ruminating about what went wrong and you're beating yourself up, then you see months are going by and you're not getting things done. So don't let anything get you too down, and don't let anything get you too up. Don't feel too much about yourself, because when things don't go wrong, you can come crashing tremendously when you think it's all because of you. And also, when you don't have high expectations, you're always down. That doesn't help either. So what I say is be even keel. Celebrate your wins and then get right back to it. It's always good to celebrate your wins. You know, you work hard, you deserve it, but don't bask in it and prolong celebration. That is a distraction as well. But at the same time, don't be too stressed and depressed to the point of where you can't function either. Don't let anything get you too high or too low. When a win happens, keep it in your mind. Okay, it's a win, I need to get back to task. When something bad happens, this is life, hills and valleys. I need to get back to task. That's what I'll say. That's a key, and that's something I had to learn, because I've had high highs and I've had low lows. And too much of celebrating a win, you look back and then you're not winning consistently, right? And too down or too hard on yourself when things go wrong, sometimes even beyond your control. And you're beating yourself up, and then days and days are going by and you're not getting back to it. So be even keeled. Be very mindful of the euphoria of celebrating too much, and also the depression of sobbing in a loss. Life is going to be up and down. No consistent form of life. At least I'm not aware of it. You go up and down. What needs to be consistent is how you react to it. All right. Well, I hope that helped. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you found it informative. My contact information is in the description below. Send me a text or an email, because I'd love to help you with your real estate needs.